Peace is not something you stumble upon in the outside world, it is something you cultivate within yourself. So many people spend their lives searching for happiness, harmony, and fulfillment in external achievements, relationships, or possessions, but peace remains elusive until they recognize that the true source lies inside. When you learn how to find peace within yourself, you not only transform your own life, but you also contribute to changing the world, because peace radiates outward like ripples across still water. The way we carry ourselves, the way we think, speak, and act, these all shape the energy of the collective human experience. A single peaceful individual can bring calm to a room, heal conflicts, and inspire others to live differently. The first step to peace is self-awareness. You cannot transform what you do not see, and you cannot heal what you constantly ignore. Self-awareness is the doorway to inner freedom because it shines a light on the inner patterns that quietly dictate how you feel, how you act, and how you respond to the world. Most people move through life on autopilot, repeating the same emotional reactions, the same cycles of thought, the same behaviors that keep them stuck in stress and discontent. They wonder why peace seems unreachable, yet they never pause to look inward and ask, what is happening within me? What am I carrying that shapes my every moment? When you begin to cultivate self-awareness, it feels like waking up from a dream. You notice how your thoughts run constantly, sometimes whispering doubts, sometimes shouting fears, sometimes replaying conversations that already ended. You notice how quickly your mood can shift, how easily irritation arises, how often you judge yourself without mercy. And you notice how your body reacts. Tight shoulders when you are anxious, shallow breaths when you are stressed, restless movement when you feel unsettled. Awareness reveals the invisible strings pulling you. And with that revelation comes the first taste of freedom, because what you observe, you can choose to change. Imagine walking into a room where there is loud background noise. At first, you barely notice it, because you've become so accustomed to it. Yet the noise drains you, irritates you, distracts you in subtle ways. When someone finally points it out, you become conscious of it, and suddenly you realize how much it affects you. That is what self-awareness does. It makes you conscious of the inner noise you have been living with for years. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You can finally decide whether to let it continue or to turn down the volume. But awareness is not the same as judgment. This is where many people struggle. When they begin to observe their thoughts, they criticize themselves for being negative. When they notice anger, they shame themselves for not being calmer. True self-awareness is different. It is the act of watching without labeling, noticing without condemning. It is as if you are standing at the edge of a river, watching the water flow. You see leaves, sticks, and debris floating past, but you do not jump into the river and get swept away, you simply observe. Your thoughts and emotions are the river. You are the witness on the bank. And from that place, peace begins. One of the simplest ways to build self-awareness is through mindful breathing. The breath is always with you, yet most of the time you are unaware of it. By simply pausing and observing a single inhalation and exhalation, you begin to draw your attention inward. The moment you notice your breath, you notice yourself. And in that moment, you create space, a small gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where peace lives. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to respond consciously. Instead of being consumed by anger, you notice, anger is rising in me, and you choose whether to feed it or let it pass. Another path to self-awareness is reflection. Writing in a journal, speaking honestly with a trusted friend, or sitting quietly in meditation allows you to see patterns more clearly. You might realize that certain environments always trigger stress, that certain beliefs about yourself are rooted in old wounds, or that certain habits keep you from peace. Reflection is like holding up a mirror, not just to your outer face, but to your inner landscape. And the more you look, the more you learn. Yet self-awareness requires courage. Many avoid it because they fear what they might find. They fear discovering resentment they never admitted, sadness they pushed aside, or insecurities they tried to cover with success or possessions. But avoidance only buries unrest deeper. Peace is not found by running from yourself, it is found by sitting with yourself fully, even with the uncomfortable parts. When you dare to face your shadows, you begin to see that they lose power the moment they are brought into the light. Through self-awareness, you also begin to see that you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your fleeting moods. You are the observer of them. And this realization changes everything. Suddenly, the storm of the mind no longer defines you. You can stand calmly in the center, watching the storm pass by. This shift alone dissolves much of the inner chaos that steals peace, because you are no longer enslaved by the noise. You are grounded in awareness, and from that awareness grows clarity, calm, and choice. The second step to peace is acceptance. If self-awareness is the act of seeing yourself clearly, then acceptance is the act of embracing what you see without resistance. Most people carry a constant inner battle, a quiet war with reality. They replay the past and wish it were different. They look at the present and wish it were something else. They peer into the future and fear what might come. This resistance creates tension, like trying to push back against the tide of the ocean. No matter how hard you struggle, the tide still comes in and still goes out. Peace does not come from winning the fight against life. It comes from laying down the weapons of resistance and allowing life to flow as it is. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean giving up or surrendering to stagnation. Many people confuse the two. Resignation is saying, there is nothing I can do. Acceptance is saying, this is the way it is right now. From that place of clarity, you can still act, still create, still improve, but without the added layer of suffering caused by fighting reality. Acceptance is the foundation on which transformation can truly stand, because you cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Think about a storm. You cannot stop the rain from falling, nor can you hold back the thunder. But you can choose whether to scream at the sky in frustration or to step inside, light a candle, and wait for the calm to return. The storm is not in your control, but your response is. In the same way, life brings challenges, heartbreak, and change. Some of these things cannot be undone. The peace comes not from controlling the storm, but from accepting that it is here, and then choosing how you will walk through it. Acceptance also extends to yourself. So many people live in quiet self-rejection, constantly criticizing their flaws, regretting their past mistakes, or feeling unworthy of love and peace. But you cannot fight yourself into wholeness. You cannot shame yourself into transformation. What you resist within yourself only grows stronger. True change begins with acceptance. Looking at yourself honestly, acknowledging your imperfections and saying, even here I am enough. This does not mean you stop growing. It means you stop growing from a place of self-hatred and start growing from a place of self-compassion. Consider how a seed grows into a tree. You do not scream at the seed for being small, nor do you judge it for not being a tree yet. You accept that it is a seed, and in that acceptance you nurture it. You give it sunlight, water, and time. Eventually, it becomes what it was always meant to be. In the same way, when you accept yourself as you are now, you create the conditions for your own growth. Peace blooms not in the soil of rejection but in the soil of acceptance. Acceptance also softens your relationships. When you expect others to act according to your script, you create endless conflict. You think, they should treat me this way, they should understand me, they should change for me. But people are not here to live according to your expectations. They are who they are, shaped by their own journeys, their own wounds, their own awareness. When you stop demanding that others be different and start accepting them as they are, you remove a heavy burden from your heart. This doesn't mean tolerating harm or abuse. It means recognizing that peace is not found in trying to control others, but in choosing how you will respond to them. Acceptance is also about timing. Life unfolds in seasons. There are seasons of planting, seasons of waiting, seasons of harvest, and even seasons of loss. When you resist the season you are in, you suffer. When you accept it, you move through it with greater grace. A winter cannot be rushed into spring, but if you accept the stillness of winter, you find peace even in the cold. Likewise, if your life feels paused, if your dreams are taking longer than you expected, peace comes when you stop fighting the timeline and begin trusting the process. Perhaps the most profound acceptance is accepting uncertainty. Human beings crave control, but much of life lies beyond it. We want guarantees about health, about love, about success, about the future, yet no guarantee exists. Resistance to uncertainty creates anxiety, but acceptance of it creates freedom. When you accept that you cannot know everything, you release the grip of fear and allow life to surprise you. Peace is not found in knowing every answer. It is found in trusting that you will meet whatever comes. The third step to peace is forgiveness. Nothing burdens the human heart more heavily than resentment. It sits quietly in the soul like a stone at the bottom of a river, heavy and unmoving, weighing everything down. We carry the memories of wrongs done to us, words spoken that cut deeply, actions that betrayed our trust. And though those moments may have passed long ago, they remain alive inside us because we rehearse them in our minds again and again. Each time we remember, the wound bleeds anew. This is why forgiveness is not only about others. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of the past. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think it means excusing what happened, pretending it was acceptable, or reconciling with someone who hurt them. But true forgiveness is none of these things. Forgiveness does not deny the pain, it does not minimize the harm, and it does not necessarily restore the relationship. Forgiveness simply means this: I refuse to let this wound define me any longer. I release my grip on anger so that I may reclaim my peace. It is not about the other person, it is about you choosing freedom over chains. Think of your heart as a garden. Every time you hold on to anger, you plant a thorn. At first, 1 or 2 thorns may seem manageable, but over time the garden becomes dense with them, choking out any flowers that try to bloom. Forgiveness is the act of pulling out the thorns. It may hurt as you uproot them, but only then can the garden breathe again. Only then can peace grow. Resentment feels powerful in the moment. It gives us a sense of righteousness, a sense that we are standing tall against those who wronged us. But in truth, resentment corrodes from within. It steals energy, clouds judgment, and poisons joy. It is like carrying a burning coal in your hand, waiting for the chance to throw it at someone else. Yet all the while, it is your own hand that burns. Forgiveness is the act of finally setting the coal down. Forgiving others can feel impossible, especially when the hurt runs deep. Betrayal, cruelty, neglect. These wounds leave scars. And forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a process. Sometimes you forgive in layers. You release a little today only to find anger rising again tomorrow. That is normal. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is choosing again and again to release the hold that bitterness has over you. Each time you choose forgiveness, the grip of the wound weakens until eventually, it no longer defines you. But perhaps even more difficult than forgiving others is forgiving yourself. We are often our own harshest critics. We remember the mistakes we made years ago, the words we regret, the opportunities we missed, the times we failed ourselves or others. We hold ourselves hostage with guilt, as if punishing ourselves long enough will make up for the past. Yet peace cannot exist in a heart that is at war with itself. Forgiveness of the self is one of the bravest acts of all. Forgiving yourself begins with understanding that you acted with the awareness you had at the time. If you had known better, you would have done better. That does not excuse the mistake, but it brings compassion to it. You are not the same person you were then, you have grown, learned, and evolved. Holding yourself captive to your past self is unfair to the person you have become today. Forgiveness allows you to integrate the lesson without carrying the shame. It says, yes, I made mistakes, but I will not let them steal my peace anymore. I release myself so I can live fully now. Some find forgiveness easier when they remember their own need for it. Every human being has, at some point, caused pain to someone else, intentionally or unintentionally. We have all spoken words in anger, acted out of fear, or failed to show up when someone needed us. When you realize how deeply you desire forgiveness for your own flaws, it becomes easier to extend forgiveness to others. Not because they deserve it, but because you understand the shared humanity that binds us all. There is also a spiritual depth to forgiveness. To forgive is to acknowledge that life is bigger than our pain, that love is stronger than resentment, and that peace is worth more than the temporary satisfaction of holding a grudge. Forgiveness realigns you with your higher self, the part of you that longs for freedom, not chains. It allows you to release the story of victimhood and step into the story of resilience. Forgiveness does not erase memory, but it transforms it. A painful past no longer feels like an open wound. It becomes a scar, a reminder not of suffering but of healing. The scar says, I was hurt, but I am whole again. I was broken, but I have mended. I was betrayed, but I found peace anyway. This is the power of forgiveness. It turns pain into wisdom, wounds into strength, and bitterness into freedom. The fourth step to peace is presence. The human mind has an extraordinary ability to escape the moment. It races forward into the future, rehearsing worries about what may come, or it drifts backward into the past, replaying memories, regrets, and missed chances. Very rarely does the mind rest here, in the only place where life actually happens, this moment. Presence is the art of returning to the now, and it is in the now that peace lives. To understand presence, imagine standing beside a river. If you keep thinking of yesterday, you are upstream, clinging to the water that has already passed. If you keep worrying about tomorrow, you are downstream, chasing water that has not yet arrived. But life is not upstream or downstream. It is here, where your feet touch the bank, where the river flows before your eyes. Peace is the recognition that you are always standing in the now, and the now is enough. When you are not present, life slips by unnoticed. You eat without tasting, walk without seeing, speak without truly listening. You move through the day half absent, always chasing the next task, the next achievement, the next someday when you think happiness will finally arrive. But presence reveals that happiness is not in the future. It is in this breath, in this conversation, in this small, ordinary moment. When you awaken to presence, even the simplest things glow with significance. the warmth of sunlight on your face, the rhythm of your breathing, the laughter of a friend, the silence between words. Presence is also the end of unnecessary suffering. Think of how often stress arises not from what is happening right now, but from what your mind tells you about it. The meeting tomorrow, the mistake from last week, the fear of failure, the what ifs that never end, these are creations of thought, not reality. In the present moment, most of the time, you are safe. You are breathing. You are alive. Yet the mind paints storms that do not exist, and you drown in waves that are not real. By returning to presence, you step out of the storm and stand again in calm water. One of the simplest gateways to presence is the body. The mind loves to wander, but the body is always here. When you feel your feet pressing against the ground, when you notice the rise and fall of your chest, when you sense the air moving across your skin, you return to the now. Each time you anchor your awareness in the body, you cut through the endless noise of thought and rediscover the simplicity of being. Another gateway is listening. True listening requires presence, because you cannot truly hear someone if your mind is busy rehearsing your reply or drifting into distraction. When you give another person your full presence, something magical happens. They feel seen, valued, and respected. Your presence becomes a gift, not only to yourself but to others. It transforms conversations into connections and turns ordinary interactions into moments of intimacy and trust. Presence also means giving yourself permission to slow down. The modern world glorifies busyness, rushing from one responsibility to another, multitasking, always chasing productivity. But busyness is often the enemy of peace. Presence is found when you pause, when you allow yourself to fully engage with one task, one breath, one moment at a time. Instead of rushing through life to get somewhere else, you realize you are already here, and here is all you ever truly have. Living in presence does not mean ignoring the future or denying the past. It means holding them lightly. You can learn from yesterday and plan for tomorrow, but you do not live in them. You live here, now, in this step, this breath, this heartbeat. Every time your mind drifts, you can gently bring it back, like guiding a child back home. Over and over, you return. And with each return, peace grows stronger. Presence also reveals a profound truth, that peace does not come from what you have, but from how you see. You may be sitting in the same room you've sat in for years, but when you become fully present, the room feels different. The colors appear sharper, the silence feels alive, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Nothing outside changed, only your awareness did. This shows that peace is not dependent on external circumstances, but on your ability to inhabit the present moment fully. When you cultivate presence, you discover that life itself is always giving. The future is unknown, the past is unchangeable, but the present is alive. It is here that love can be felt, here that gratitude can bloom, here that joy can arise without condition. And the more you practice presence, the more you realize, this moment, just as it is enough. The fifth step to peace is gratitude. Gratitude is the lens that changes the way you see the world. Where the ungrateful eye notices only what is missing, gratitude notices what is already present, what is already working, what is already beautiful. It is not about ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. It is about choosing to focus on the abundance that already exists instead of obsessing over the lack. Gratitude does not erase challenges, but it softens them, reminding you that even in the darkest moments, light still flickers somewhere. The mind, left unchecked, naturally gravitates toward dissatisfaction. It whispers, I will be happy when I have more money, when I achieve that goal, when I meet the right person, when I escape this situation. This mindset postpones peace, placing it forever in the future, always just out of reach. Gratitude pulls peace into the present. It says, yes, I may still want more, I may still strive for better, but right now, in this moment, I already have enough. That simple shift is revolutionary. Imagine standing in a field filled with wildflowers, yet staring only at the patch of bare soil in front of you. You would miss the beauty surrounding you, not because it isn't there, but because you are not looking. Life is much the same. Gratitude trains your eyes to see the flowers instead of the dirt, the blessings instead of the burdens. And as you see more, you feel more peace, more joy, more contentment, not because your life suddenly changed, but because your vision did. Gratitude is not limited to the big things, success, love, comfort. It is often most powerful in the small things. The taste of fresh water when you are thirsty. The softness of your bed at the end of a long day. The sound of birds in the morning. The smile of a stranger. The fact that your lungs are breathing, your heart is beating, and your body carries you through the world. These are miracles we overlook every day, yet they form the foundation of life itself. Gratitude brings them into focus, and in doing so, it grounds you in the present moment with wonder. Science has even confirmed what ancient wisdom has always known: gratitude rewires the brain. When you consciously practice gratitude, you activate neural pathways associated with joy, calm, and optimism. Over time, your mind begins to scan for the good automatically, rather than fixating on the negative. This doesn't just make you happier, it makes you more resilient. Challenges still come, but gratitude helps you see the resources, support, and strength that are also present, which brings a sense of peace even in difficulty. Gratitude also transforms relationships. When you focus on what you appreciate about another person, rather than on what you wish they would change, love deepens and tension softens. A simple thank you can heal wounds, open hearts, and strengthen bonds. When someone feels appreciated, they feel seen, valued, and respected. Gratitude turns ordinary interactions into moments of connection, reminding both you and them of the goodness that exists between you. But perhaps the greatest power of gratitude is how it changes your relationship with life itself. Instead of viewing life as something you are entitled to, you begin to see it as a gift. Every breath becomes a blessing, every sunrise a reminder of new beginnings, every challenge an opportunity to grow. Gratitude turns life into a sacred experience, where even difficulties are acknowledged as teachers. When you live this way, peace becomes natural, because how can you not feel peace when you are surrounded by gifts? Gratitude is a practice, not a one-time feeling. Some days it flows easily, other days it feels distant. But like a muscle, it strengthens with use. You can begin simply, writing down 3 things you are grateful for each morning, pausing before meals to give thanks, or ending the day by reflecting on what went well. These small practices gradually shift your focus, until gratitude becomes a natural way of seeing. And when gratitude becomes natural, peace follows. Because it is nearly impossible to feel both deeply grateful and deeply anxious at the same time. Gratitude pulls you out of fear and lack, grounding you in the truth of abundance. It reminds you that you already hold more than enough to find joy in this moment. It does not mean ignoring what you wish to create or change, it simply means not postponing peace until then. Gratitude says, I will still strive, but I will not suffer while I wait. I choose to see the good here and now. Peace is not something you find once and keep forever, it is something you practice, something you choose, something you return to again and again. Through self-awareness, you learn to see yourself clearly. Through acceptance, you release the battle with reality. Through forgiveness, you free your heart from the past. Through presence, you come alive in the now. Through gratitude, you awaken to abundance. Through purpose, you align your life with meaning. And through extending peace outward, you become a source of light in a world that longs for calm. When you find peace within yourself, you do not just heal your own life. You ripple that peace into every room you walk into, every person you meet, every interaction you have. Your calm becomes a gift to others. Your compassion becomes an example. Your presence becomes a mirror that awakens peace in those around you. This is how change begins, not only with governments or institutions, but with individual human beings who decide to live differently. The truth is simple: the world is a reflection of the collective heart of humanity. And when even one heart chooses peace, the world is changed in ways we may never fully see. So begin with yourself. Choose peace within your thoughts, your actions, your relationships, your daily life. Let it flow outward, quietly, powerfully, like ripples across still water. Because when you find peace within yourself, you do not just transform your own life. You become part of the transformation of the world. And the world, more than ever, is waiting for the peace you carry inside.